Hello and welcome to Culture Shark, a live stream about all things pop culture. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and today we are continuing our journey through the great comic book stories from the past. Today is Avengers Under Siege. Uh, I am not I'm a big Marvel fan, but not a huge Avengers fan. I do like Captain America and Thor, but that's about it when it comes to being Avengers. Caleb, how about yourself?
I would say that I am a pretty. I'm not going to say I'm a big Avengers fan. I actually like these characters separately, if that makes sense. I really like Iron Man, but I like Iron Man separately. I like Thor, but I like Thor separately. I like Captain America separately, Hawkeye separately. Like I like these characters in their own books, but I'm not too on the up and up with Avengers as a whole, if that makes any sense.
So I'm gonna ask you a random question here. When I was a kid, I just always assumed that Captain America was the leader of the Avengers.
Uh huh.
Every story I read, he's never the leader. I'm sure at some point he is the leader of the Avengers, but most of the time it's Iron Man or Wasp or Photon, and I'm always like, when is Captain America the leader?
Yeah, yeah. No, it. I'm kind of the same way because I think my first exposure to the Avengers, like as a team,
Hmm.
was Ultimate Avengers, the animated movie that came out in like 2005.
Hmm.
Because before that, I was like, okay, so DC has the Justice League and Marvel has the X Men. Like that was that was uh, kind of my thinking. Um,
And I'm older, so the Secret War toys came out when I was like 5 or 6. So I may be a little older, but just seeing the Captain America toy and stuff, I just assumed, oh, he's the leader of the Avengers, and maybe it said something on the back about him being the leader during Secret Wars or something.
yeah. Oh, which by the way, the reason I bring up Ultimate Avengers is because he was the leader in.
Hmm.
uh, Iron Man was barely in that.
Right, right. So we picked what I've heard several times. I used to be a big reader of Wizard magazine. They'd always bring up Avengers Under Siege, and so I've always wanted to read this story. And I'm a big Baron Zemo fan. So today
Yes.
we are going over Avengers issues 270 through 277, and I threw an issue 280. I don't know if you had a chance to read that one. Also, it's kind of an epilogue sort of issue dealing with Jarvis. So
I did not get a chance, but if it's an epilogue, then
it's mostly just recapping Jarvis's history with the Avengers and whether or not he's going to continue being the Butler and dealing with his injuries and stuff.
yeah. Which, by the way, Jarvis is a butler,
Yeah.
um, which is not. Uh, when when did the AI thing start?
I've let's see, in because he in Ultimates he was a Butler because Black Widow killed him, right?
Yep.
So spoilers for a 20-something-year-old story, but um, uh, yeah, I think it was the movies that kind of started that. I mean, I'm sure he's had AI in the comics. I'm not a huge Iron Man reader, so I don't know.
I'm like I know he had it in a fractions run, but I didn't know if it started there.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the movie thing first and then the comics. I don't know. Let us know in the comments if you know, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not the biggest Iron Man reader, so I don't know. And part of us reading these stories is this is you know parts of Marvel Universe we're not terribly familiar with. Um, so this story is about the. So we'll do like normal. We'll do kind of our non spoilery thoughts, and then we'll get into spoilers. So This is about Baron Zemo and the Masters of Evil trying to get revenge on the Avengers, and I think they do a heck of a job.
Yes.
It's rare to see the villains do so well. Um, our Avengers at this moment, I don't have the picture in front of me, so I'm just going to go from memory. We got Namor, who's not around for very long.
Yep.
Captain America, Wasp, Black Knight, uh, Captain Marvel or Photon, depending on which name she's going on at this point. Hercules. Am I forgetting anybody? Later, they do get some reinforcements from like Ant Man and Thor, Doctor Druid. But at the beginning, I think it's just this smaller group.
Yeah, it felt like, I know it wasn't, but it kind of felt West Coast to me.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and this is kind of this was an '80s story, and I miss old Marvel where the editorial was so had such a tight grip on everything. Like you knew where every character was every month. Like they would say, "Oh, Captain America's not here this month. He's in Florida." Like they were keeping track of every single character on a monthly basis. So you wouldn't have Captain America show up in 17 books in the same month.
Well, the funniest thing is, I missed that as well because we actually got a lot of different characters because of stuff like that. I always think to the Steve Englehart um, Batman run that had Laughing Fish and Strange Apparitions with the Strange Secret of Bruce Wayne. Um, and one thing that I always think of is that there were only supposed Steve Englehart only wrote 7 issues initially, and he actually had to add an 8th issue because he didn't they wouldn't let him start the Laughing Fish um, until they until the next month, because the month that he wanted to start Laughing Fish, there was already a Joker story in Batman,
Hmm.
because he was writing detective at the time, and so that issue that he wrote, he brought back a little known Batman villain from like 30 years before that hadn't shown up since his first appearance, and that bad guy was named Deadshot.
There you go.
And so without editorial keeping up with that, we would probably not have Deadshot or the Suicide Squad as we know them today.
Right. Yeah. People forget, like, everybody thinks, oh, Wolverine's always on the X-Men. There was a time period when he got his adamantium ripped out, he left the team, and you could only read about Wolverine in the Wolverine comic books. And I really miss that. I feel like it was sometime around Civil War or shortly thereafter where they really just lost control of all of it, and it became a joke with Wolverine where he was on the Avengers, the X-Men, Uncanny X-Force in his own book all at the same time. He was everywhere, and they would even do like backup stories showing like the month in the life of Wolverine. It just showed like a calendar of like every day what he was doing during that month and how he's in all these different books at the same time and stuff. And it just I miss when editorial really kept her by the old Marvel universe is fun because a lot of these characters really never met until Secret Wars, which is
Yep.
mind blowing because that was like comic universe have been around for 20 years, and other than like Marvel team up or Spider-Man teaming up with different people, most of these characters never met. And I feel like now when you read a comic book, it's just thought that, oh, everybody's already met before and everybody knows each other, and loses it loses some of the mystique that the old titles had, where they all just trust each other, they didn't like each other and stuff, and now everybody's just real buddy buddy, and it's just not as fun.
Yeah, and I think it is Civil War, which funny enough, Civil War is very I would say Civil War is very relevant to this conversation, um, which we'll bring that up here in a second. But it definitely was Civil War that really ruined all that. Because I always think about a uh, one of the issues. So I'm a big Daredevil fan, and historically, Daredevil never uh, kind of gets involved with the big stuff. And that's kind of what I
Mhm.
like about being a Daredevil fan is you don't have to worry about crossovers all that much. Um, but what was going on during Civil War, as far as Daredevil goes, was the Murdoch papers, the trial of Matt Murdock. He had been outed as Daredevil. It could never be proven, but he got outed as Daredevil, and actually, eventually, it does get proven. Um, and he ends up going to jail. Um, but at the time of Civil War, to throw people off the scent, they actually had Danny Rand take over as Daredevil for a while. So
Mhm.
if you're reading Daredevil, you got Matt Murdock and he was doing his lawyer thing, but then you wanted the Daredevil action stuff. They would cut over to Danny Rand as Daredevil. Um, and there's an issue of Civil War where they have Daredevil in handcuffs and they take off his mask and it's Matt. And it does
Mhm.
that's not what was going on at the time in the Daredevil comics.
Yeah, this happened also. I think in Hickman's Avengers, I want to say, where Spider-Man is involved doing stuff, and it was supposed to be Superior Spider-Man at the time, and then like the next issue, all of a sudden Spider-Man has like a complete personality change. Where now it's Doc Ock. Like they fixed it. Like they never said it wasn't Peter in the other issue, but it was clearly he was writing Peter, and then he switches to Doc Ock at the next.
Yeah.
So there's stuff like that that happens where editorial is just asleep at the wheel, and I think Marvel's editorial is nowhere as good as it once was. So
Yeah.
anyhow, that's a little side rant there. But this story, like I said, this is the uh, Masters of Evil getting revenge on the Avengers. They take over the Avengers mansion, and they really put the Avengers through the ringer here. I think that's all I'll say for non-spoilers for right now. Uh, I really enjoyed this story. I thought it was great. I think this should have been the plot to the second Avengers movie, personally.
I actually am going to go ahead and I'm not disagreeing with you,
Hmm.
but what I am saying is this was the plot to the third Avengers movie.
So third one, so that's Infinity War.
Nope, nope.
No, or are you talking about Civil War?
I'm talking about Civil War. This is there's
It
more
kinda. There's
there
Zemo. There's elements there.
there is more of this in the Civil War movie than Civil War the comic book was in the Civil War movie.
Yeah, I could see that. I just I think I would like to have seen this. Like I picture Age of Ultron starts with them all kind of partying at the Avengers mansion. Picture that, and then all of a sudden like a Die Hard situation happens where the Masters of Evil just strike,
Yeah.
and then you get flashbacks of Captain America like killing Zemo's father during the war or something, and then kind of tie it all together because now you've set up the Thunderbolts. You've set up a roster for the Avengers, and you've set up that hey, these Avengers can be beat, even though they just saved the day. They are not invincible.
Do you know what
And
the
you could
biggest
have,
problem is though?
yeah. What's that?
They weren't leaving their villains alive at this point.
Yeah, yeah. Um, there's that, and you could have flipped. You don't have Jarvis in the movies, but you could have switched it with Happy. Have that happen to Happy instead of Jarvis.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it would have worked great because John Favreau is a very likable guy, and We'll get to the spoilers here in a little bit about Jarvis, but it's pretty messed up. Um, so yeah, I really like this. I recommend this if you're looking for a cool Avenger story that they haven't really covered in the movie, although they did borrow elements from. And if you like Thunderbolts, the comic book Thunderbolts, I definitely recommend the story also. A lot of the same characters are involved.
I would also say that like uh eventually DC would do this with Tower of Babel as well.
Hmm.
Um so very similar to that. Um yeah, I think that this is a I think this is a great story. I it's one of those things that I kind of wish that I kind of wish that like comic books were more consistent. So that way like we could get like a I don't know, like an 80 issue run on Avengers, and like this is like issue 50 to 60, you know?
Right. No, this is good. I mean, it doesn't all happen at once. It's kind of a build up, and it even seemed like there was elements happening before the issue we started on, where you see that villains are slowly being broken out of prison, and Zemo's slowly gathering his forces while other things are going on. And you see Zemo, he's plotting. It's not like spur of the moment, oh, let's do this. Like he's got a master plan, and it's nice to see a villain be on top of his game for once.
Yes.
It
Which if it's any villain it's Zemo. I would say I don't know if you agree. You might agree with this. I would say that like consistently Zemo is the most competent villain in the Marvel universe.
mhm.
Like if like there are times whenever like Doom acts dumb. There are times whenever uh, uh, um, like Norman Osborn acts dumb, but like I mean Zemo, they seem to be pretty consistent in like never really getting him like wrong.
Zemo, his usual downfalling is surrounding himself with people that will betray him, like Moonstone.
Yes.
That is usually Zemo's downfall. Whereas Doom is usually his arrogance, that gets the best of him. Zemo, it's a different thing. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into spoilers. If you want to pull up some of I don't know how you have the slideshow. Um,
Let's see.
we could look at some covers, or we could go ahead and look at some of the story images.
I didn't get the covers.
Okay. Um, so the first story, I was kind of cracking up because it was a Namor story, and
Yes.
so I just had to throw this in there just to get you because this
Yeah.
guy here stated for Namor. Nabor's one of our greatest allies in World War II. The veterans stand with Namor, and you know.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, no. I don't like and the thing is like it's really funny. We've been reading a lot of Namor lately on
Yeah,
accident.
yeah, we
And
have.
and the thing is like it's kind of on principle that I don't like Namor, but at the same time, there's nothing that we've read that's proven me wrong, you know? Like it's not like I'm doing it just because I'm doing it. Like there has not been a single story that we've read that has involved Namor at this point that has proven me wrong in my hatred for the character.
Yeah, he does have some heroic moments in the story, but at the same time, there's like a lawsuit, and he's making it worse, through the whole
Yeah.
thing. And um, so the first couple of chapters of this, there's a lot of stuff kind of happening in the background. You see lot of jailbreaks going on, that sort of thing, while the Avengers are busy dealing with Namor stuff. And the team, they have a lot of issues right now. Hercules he does not like the Wasp as a leader. He does not think that she's qualified to be a leader, mostly because she's a woman, and he just, I'm a god, and why am I listening to some woman tell me what to do? Then you have Black Knight, who I don't know a whole lot about Black Knight, to be
I
honest.
I don't either, but I like him.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. I didn't know he was a scientist and stuff. I thought that was cool. Uh, but he seems to
Yeah,
be attracted to Wasp, but he's
Kit Harington doesn't really tell you a whole lot about that character in Eternals.
yeah, he's he seems to be attracted to Wasp, but he's also kind of unsure of himself.
I feel that.
We have we have Photon or Captain Marvel. She is such a better character than Carol Danvers. I really do like Monica a lot, and she's still learning the extent of her powers, just how powerful she is. So there's a lot of her experimenting with her powers in the story.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, so I liked her in the Marvels and WandaVision, but I definitely after reading this, I am more excited for her to come back now.
Yeah, she's a cool character. I liked her in the comic books and Next Wave. She's pretty cool in Secret Wars. The stuff I've read of hers, I like all of hers. Every time she shows up, I like her. So
I'll be honest, I actually didn't know that she was this old of a character. Like I mean, the way with modern Marvel now, or Marvel Cinematic Universe, is
yeah,
we're gonna do um, Speed and Wiccan, who are relatively newer characters. We're gonna do uh, uh, Jane Foster as Thor.
yeah,
Just characters like that. So I thought that or Miss Marvel even. So I thought Monica Rambeau was like maybe one of those characters that was created in the late '90s.
yeah. No, she's been around a bit. She's definitely in Secret Wars, so she's before that. I don't know exactly when she first appeared, but yeah, she's been around a bit. Um, cool. So what is the next image? I don't remember what I sent next. This is where we finally see Zemo revealed, and we see that he's already Moonstone is the biggest threat to his plan,
Mhm.
and this will be a recurring theme all throughout Thunderbolts. Is Zemo and Moonstone butting heads all the time, and I think it's great. And then here's just a shot of all the Masters of Evil. This is actually not even all of them. Some of them got captured earlier, screaming Mimi and Ray Gargoyle. And I think they even mentioned they were using what's his name, Whirlwind. He's in
Oh
some.
yeah,
Yeah, so they mentioned some characters off screen that Captain America was busy fighting in his own book. But you've got spoilers, but a lot of future Thunderbolts here. You got Atlas and Moonstone back there, Fixer, Zemo, and then outside of that, you got the Wrecking Crew, Absorbing Man, Titania, who are always fun. Tiger Shark, Yellow Jacket. But apparently, Yellow Jacket becomes an Avenger later. I was reading about, so I don't know anything about her. Um,
I think Yellow Jacket
it was Hank Pym, but this
yeah.
is Yellow Jacket 2, and she eventually becomes an Avenger and dies in a future story.
Okay,
Um,
so that's what was confusing me because I knew Scott Lang as Yellow Jacket.
Yeah, the Ant Man and Giant Man and Yellow Jacket identities. A lot of people have had those identities, so it gets a little confusing. We also have Blackout, who is a big part of this story. He's mostly being
I
mentally manipulated by Moonstone and Zemo.
I was definitely disappointed in
That it
Blackout.
wasn't Blackout, yeah,
That
from
it,
Ghost
that it,
Rider.
that, that it wasn't Blackout from Ghost Rider. I was
Yeah,
when you told me that Blackout was in this, I got really excited.
yeah. And then lastly, we have Mr. Hyde, who I've only read a couple of stories of Mr. Hyde. He's usually paired up with Cobra.
He
Um,
seems familiar to me. I feel like I've read something with him in it.
he's been some Spider-Man stories. There's a famous Spider-Man story, like around the time Spider-Man fought Juggernaut. He also fought Mr. Hyde around those issues. Um, Mr. Hyde's terrifying. He really
Yeah.
is. He is brutal. Uh, So basically, the Zemo is kind of keeping track of where all the Avengers are, and he's kind of making sure like Captain America's off in Florida doing this, and West Coast Avengers are busy doing this, and making sure that the mansion is unguarded, and like they get Hercules really drunk, like they drug Hercules and stuff, and
Hmm.
so it's a big plot. Go ahead and hop to the next one. So they attack Avengers Mansion when it's just Jarvis there. Jarvis is just a butler with no powers, and I think they jammed the signal. I'm having trouble remembering some of this because I read it earlier in the week, and I just couldn't quit reading it. It was so good. I just kept reading it. And I was hoping to stretch it out throughout the week. So, um, but they break in, they take out all the defenses, and they take Jarvis captive. And right away, Mr. Hyde is already like, let me kill him," and they're like having to hold Mr. Hyde back. But we see here that they do capture Jarvis. So at first, the Avengers still don't know anything is going on until they start coming back to the mansion. I think Black Knight is the first one they
Yep.
capture.
Yep. It's actually right here.
Yeah, and Mr. Hyde just beats the mess out of him. I think Mr. Hyde is like a Thor villain or like maybe Captain America villain. But he is, like I said, he's terrifying. He's super
Yes.
strong, and so now they've like beaten Black Knight unconscious.
If you think about it, because you know how like they've been talking about like we initially thought that the Thunderbolts was gonna be like Dark Avengers with like U.S. agents, Captain America, and uh, Yelena would be like their Black Widow. I could totally see Mr. Hyde being a stand-in for like an evil Hulk.
Sure, yeah, he's he's a cool character. I'm surprised we don't see more of him.
I would imagine we don't see more of him because he's a public domain character. We tend to not do a like Thor is the exception, but other
Mhm.
characters that are public domain, like even Hercules, we don't do a whole lot with him either anymore.
Yeah. So I think Captain Marvel is probably the next to show up. She was in France doing something, and then she shows up and she gets trapped in the Black Force or the Dark Force. Um, you can go back a panel. So at around this point, Captain America and Wasp realize that something's up, and they realize that the communication they got back from the mansion didn't make sense. So they grab Hercules, who is severely drunk at this time. Hercules does not listen to the plan, rushes in, and he gets beaten to a pulp by Hyde and the Wrecking Crew. The Wrecking Crew, you have to understand, they all their weapons have been amplified by the Nord stones. It was an old Loki plot, but they go up against Thor all the time, so they're pretty strong.
The
Um,
Wrecking Crew kind of reminds me of is it Demolisher from Transformers?
Devastator,
Devastator.
yeah. Um, so I just wanted to show that this is very familiar to a scene, and I think it's Secret Wars issue 7. It's the next panel I have where they do the same thing to She-Hulk. So very similar where the Wrecking Crew and everybody just piles on the She-Hulk. So um, they have a they have a reputation for doing this.
Mhm.
Captain America gets taken out, and then Wasp escapes, and then they enshroud the mansion in the Dark Force. Um, Here we see Captain America still defiant, saying, doesn't matter. You still haven't beat the Avengers, not so long as one of us still live. And then I think the next panel is Zemo just laughing him off, and it's like Wasp is the only member left. What's she gonna do? It's the Wasp.
Yeah.
so, um, so Wasp, they throw Hercules' body out, and he has no pulse, so they think he's dead. So Wasp goes with him to the hospital. Scott Lang shows up, and they like send in Titania and Absorbing Man to finish the job. So there's a big fight at the hospital, and then Hercules, um, his pulse slowly starts coming back. But the fact they took out Hercules is pretty crazy. Hercules
Yeah.
is scary strong, and so these guys are not messing around. Um, so Wasp is trying to get help, but the Fantastic Four are off planet. All the Avengers are unavailable. So she eventually is going to start. She gets Thor, and she gets Doctor Druid, which is another character I know hardly anything about, other than he was an Avenger for a little bit. So at this around this time, Zemo starts. You go to the next panel. Starts saying that he has no use for all these hostages, and they just um, target Jarvis first. The other thing is they go through all of Captain America's um, valuables and just start destroying them all in front of him. Pictures of him and Bucky, who was still dead at this point. Pictures of his mom. Baseball signed by Babe Ruth. All kinds of stuff. They start just destroying it all. Next panel, and then this is when the book just goes off the rails, and they just start beating poor Jarvis nearly to death in front of Captain America, and later in front of Black Knight, and they just have to sit there and watch. And then here's just more of it. I mean, it's not like just one panel; it goes on for pages and issues of them just beating Jarvis. It's
Yeah,
wild.
this is a I'm trying to think of like what else this could be an equivalent to.
This is the
Like
equivalent of it is, to my knowledge, hasn't happened. Like if the Sinister Six caught Aunt May and just beat her in front of Spider-Man, and you're just like, what is happening? It's
yeah,
or maybe I guess Bane attacked Alfred in one of the recent Batman comics, right?
he
Did
killed
he kill
Alfred.
him?
Yep.
Yeah. So maybe that's kind of the closest thing I could think of. I haven't
Yeah.
read that story, but I'm assuming. Um, yeah, it's pretty messed up here. Um, so eventually, you can go back to their panel. Eventually, the Avengers do get their act together. They start, breaking free and start fighting everybody. I didn't put a lot of the panels of them fighting. There's a lot of them taking out Mr. Hyde and Atlas and the Wrecking Crew. I did want to point at this panel where Moonstone is fighting with Captain Marvel. You can go to the next one, and she crashes into a mountain. I thought Moonstone was faking here, but apparently she did break her neck when she crashes into the mountain. But it would not surprise me if Moonstone was lying to lure Captain Marvel closer and take her out.
Where's
Um,
Moonstone from? Like, what's
is she an old? I think she's just an Avengers villain. I don't know.
because like so I kept getting
Uh,
like name is Moonstone. I kept getting Bloodstone in my head, which
right.
Elsa Bloodstone, but not related at all.
She first appeared in Captain America 192 in 1975. She got Gravity Stone from the Kree, so I imagine that she's had a lot of runs with Captain Marvel. Sounds like she did.
Gotcha.
She did become. Um, she was the fake Captain Marvel during the Dark Avengers. So
Okay.
yeah. Um, so a lot of this is them trying to deal with take out Blackout because he's the one holding the mansion under his control. So once they do take him out, then it just becomes a fight between Zemo, Captain America, as it always should be, and at the end, Zemo falls off the top of the building, and the comic book doesn't tell you whether he's dead or not. This panel is great. He's like, "What are you gonna do? You gonna kill me like you killed my father?" So Captain America has killed before, mostly during the war, but it's not like his go-to. He's the hero. He's it's only like a last resort. Um, and then the next panel is showing the aftermath of Zemo falling off the building and Captain America walking away. If you want to, yeah.
Yep.
And and then lastly, I just thought this was good writing. The next panel, you see Captain America just have a complete breakdown after all this is over, and he's kind of upset himself. He's like, I didn't cry when Hercules almost died. I didn't cry when Jarvis was beat, but once I saw what they did to these pictures, to everything from my past, he just breaks down and Photon's like, this is your past. They attacked. I get it. This was everything. And his only picture was mom. They ripped up and everything, and you know just a really good scene here. And then lastly, I just threw this in here. A little hard to read, but it talks about Jarvis has lost like 90% of his vision in one of his eyes. He probably has brain damage. It's going to take him a while to recuperate. And it's kind of issue 280 is kind of a recap of his life with the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
It goes through all these different stories, goes through Demon in a Bottle, his reaction to that, everything. And then at the end, he decides that he's still going to be a hero even after Tony has come in and said, hey, full retirement, I'll take care of every need you have. He still wants to be the butler for the Avengers even after all that.
Yeah. Which, yeah, you could definitely see Happy being that. You know what though? Now that I think about it, you may not really be able to. Uh, you may not even really be able to do this with Happy in the movies either, because um, this happened with Happy in Iron Man 3.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they hadn't killed off Coulson, I could see this happening to Coulson. There's different characters they could have done something similar with. I It just annoys me that the Avengers really don't have a lineup of villains when they have this deep roster here to choose from
Yes.
in the movies. I'm even like, hey, make this an animated movie of something that happened between Avengers 1 and 2 and just throw it on Disney Plus or something. There's things you could have done, but
Yeah.
I just I feel like the MCU, and we've I try not to complain about the MCU all the time. It's a lot of happy accidents the way they did things, and they didn't really plan things out. And so now when you get to Thunderbolts, it's like, oh, what are we gonna do? Well, we don't have any villains to make the Thunderbolts, and we didn't set this up. And they're probably thinking, well, we couldn't keep it a secret anyways. Everybody would know. Oh, once we start casting Zemo and everybody, oh, that's the Thunderbolts. But
What is? I mean, is Zemo even in the Thunderbolts?
we'll find out in 2 weeks when we read Thunderbolts issue 1.
No, no, I meant the movie.
Oh, the movie. Uh, I heard he was. I heard that there's a character, someone playing a character named Michelle or no Melissa, who may be Songbird. So there may
Okay.
be some Thunderbolts are setting up in there that are from the comic books, but I don't know. I don't know if um, Elaine from Seinfeld, if she's doing all this on her own, or if she's working for Zemo, or what's going on. I'm not
Hmm.
quite sure what the twist is there. So
Yeah, I mean, because she's playing their version of Lady Hydra, but like, what is Lady Hydra without Hydra?
Yeah, I didn't know if she was supposed to be like Victoria Hand or what. And that's another character I don't know a whole lot about, but I know it was around during the Civil War, era. So I don't know, but I like I said, if you're looking for a good Avenger story that people don't talk about enough, this is a great one.
I'm surprised that people don't talk about this one actually. This is one that as much as we talk about the night Gwen Stacy died,
Hmm.
you would think that this would be another one that we talk about. With Photon, Black Knight, Hercules, Mr. Hyde, like with them all being like with all this would boost them up into popular character status.
Yeah. So I'm really enjoying reading these runs. Like we found that cool Black Panther run that neither of us knew about. So I'm hoping we'll find some more. Uh,
I would say so far this is my favorite thing that we've read.
yeah, this was pretty great. I really enjoyed this. I It also reminds me why I don't like the Avengers. It's a lot of them dealing with the the citizens and whether or not what they did was popular or not. They're always dealing with like, public opinion, and they're always dealing with like Gyrick and stuff, the government, and so like that stuff kind of like the bureaucracy and stuff. I That stuff gets on my nerves,
Yeah.
and there wasn't a whole lot of that here, but it definitely was there. So that was Avengers Under Siege. We'll probably revisit the Avengers again at some time in the future, but for now, like I said, be back in 2 weeks as we read the Thunderbolts. I have read some of Thunderbolts. I haven't read all of it, so some of this will be brand new to me. I do remember quite enjoying it at the time, though. The issues were selling out so fast; it was really hard to get your hands on. So that's why I haven't read all of it
Yeah.
when it was coming out. So that'd be really cool. Next week will be our movie episode. Right now, tentatively, we're reading Poseidon, or we're watching Poseidon Adventure. This is the older one, not the new one. Unless it gets pulled from streaming before then, which has happened to us a couple of times with our plans. We're also hoping to maybe watch something with Val Kilmer since he just passed. We're thinking Top Secret, but we got to see if it's streaming or not. So
If not, have you seen Maverick? Top Gun Maverick?
I haven't seen Top Gun, so
Oh.
no.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe. Well, that I think those are on Paramount, so those might be
Yeah.
possibility.
Top Secret is on Pluto, so we should be able to watch that. So
Okay.
knock on wood, that is the plan for next week. So please hit like and subscribe if you like this. We're trying to grow the channel. Share it with your friends. Um, we're planning on doing some big things here in the future. We'll be doing a Superman month as we get closer to the release of the Superman movie.
Which, by the way,
So
let's briefly just mention that. What did you think of the preview?
I loved it.
Okay.
I know a
Okay.
lot of people did not like it. I loved it.
I
Um,
You know what I'm afraid of?
what's that?
I'm afraid we're gonna find out how many people just don't like Superman.
Or have never read a Superman comic book. They've only seen the movies.
Yeah.
Why does Superman have robots? What? Have you read a comic book? Yeah. So anyhow, yeah. So that is coming up fairly quickly. The Superman movie. I do question some of their marketing decisions with the Superman movie. Like this is not the stuff I'd be releasing to the public to get them interested, but we'll see.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. There's like definitely a lot of I maybe they're scared that if they don't let people know how weird this movie's gonna be, that like that'll taint it. But the thing is, now you're just getting people not interested because you're showing how weird it is.
And I've heard mixed things about the reactions. I've heard people say this is great that have actually seen the movie, and other people say they're not. But the one thing you have to watch out for is there are still these people that love the Snyderverse. and they will spread as much misinformation as they can about this
Yeah,
movie. So I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know what's
which
true and what's not right now. I'm thinking this movie will open okay and then maybe grow in popularity as time goes on. I
yeah.
think is what's going to happen here. Fantastic Four. Uh, I have not heard anybody excited about what they saw at CinemaCon, so we'll see.
That that might be the thing where like people go see Fantastic Four and then it dies down immediately, and then like maybe like people don't go see Superman, and then word of mouth happens.
Typically, Marvel movies have like all their money the first 2 weeks, and then they're just done. So we'll see. Um, but until next time, I've been Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
We'll catch you next time in the Shark Pond.
See ya.
Chicken Jockey.
Ew.